Greetings everyone, and welcome to SpaceWeek Live, episode 127 on this Sunday, August 7th, 2022. As always, this is a live Q&A session, so if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, but make sure to tag my name at @rawspace so that we are sure to see them. If you don't put the @ sign there, then it's very likely that I will miss your question because it won't highlight it for me. So, getting on to the launches of the past week. There was supposed to be a Rocket Lab, well, this isn't Rocket Lab. There was supposed to be a Rocket Lab Electron launch last Tuesday, but it was scrubbed due to persistent wind. It ended up launching 2 days later, resulting in a cluster of no less than 5 launches in a 20-hour time span on Thursday, all but one of which were live streamed right here on Raw Space. Starting off the flurry of launches was a Long March 4B with the Terrestrial Ecosystem Carbon Inventory Satellite, or TECIS, lifting off from Taiyuan in northern China. TECIS will evaluate forest biomass, measure atmospheric aerosol content, and detect photosynthetic fluorescence. Additionally, 2 small satellites named HEAD 2G and Minhang Juvenile Satellite tagged along for the ride. And just a reminder, the white stuff you see falling off of the rocket is not ice. It is insulation panels, like foam insulation, that is intended to protect the payload and the fuel in the rocket from temperature fluctuations due to the weather. 2 hours later, Electron launched with the second of two back-to-back missions for the National Reconnaissance Office, NROL-199. The launch was dubbed Antipodean Adventure since the NRO is located on the opposite side of the world from Rocket Lab's New Zealand launch site.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And we have liftoff.
Vehicle switching over.
Stage 1 proportional is nominal.
So, as always with NRO launches, we didn't get to see payload separation or any view of the satellite itself, but let's see. We did get some decent views of the retreating landscape in the, I guess this would have been evening sky after, like, right around sunset, local New Zealand time. Then, 5.5 hours later, a ULA Atlas V launched SBURS GO6 for the U.S. Space Force into a geostationary transfer orbit, completing the sixth satellite SBURS constellation. These satellites monitor the globe to provide missile early warning to the U.S. military, not just big ICBM launches, but also small battlefield, tactical, and cruise missiles, so that we know what's coming.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition and liftoff of the Atlas V rocket for United Launch Alliance, carrying SBURS GO6 for the United States Space Force.
Beautiful launch that was also captured by some of our Floridian friends. So 3 hours after that, Blue Origin launched their new Shepard suborbital rocket with another crew of 6 paying customers, including the first Egyptian and Portuguese citizens to reach space, as well as one of the founders of Dude Perfect, whose trick shots you've surely seen on YouTube.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, command engine start, 2, 1.
New Shepard has cleared the tower and is heading to space. Godspeed, Titanium Feather. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see that we are gaining speed as New Shepard gains altitude. We started at about 3,700 feet above median sea level, and that's where at launch site 1.
Okay, so the flight lasts about 10 minutes from launch to landing, the crew capsule reaching an altitude of about 104 kilometers, just above the Kármán line. They experience up to 3 minutes of weightlessness, 14 times longer than is possible in a parabolic airplane flight on the Vomit Comet. Now, they do not show us, because this is a paid experience, Blue Origin has chosen not to show live views from the crew capsule, because this is not some mission per se. It's a ride, essentially, and they don't, I guess they want respect their customers' privacy by not showing them potentially, getting nauseous or whatever. They want it to be a private experience. But the booster lands first, propulsively. It looks like it's coming in much too fast, but the single BE-3 engine is quite capable of slowing it down, allowing it to hover over to the landing pad.
Center of mass and center of pressure having inverted relationships now. Great close-up of the BE-3 engine. There it is, engine ignition, engine relay coming in for a landing. Booster touchdown. Welcome back to Earth, New Shepard. For a lot of us at Blue, this moment in flight is one of our proudest moments, really showcasing what the BE-3 engine and the New Shepard booster are capable of. Really just incredible engineering. No matter how many times we've seen this happen, it just never gets old.
They seem to, they must clean the pad after this. Like a lot of times, reused boosters and launch pads, they get super sooty and grubby and whatever. You see those scorch marks from the landing, but that paint looks fairly fresh. I'm guessing they clean off and repaint the landing pad after every launch. Again, since this is a paid experience and their customers want everything to be pristine. So 3 minutes later, the crew capsule touches down under its parachutes, its landing cushioned by a burst of compressed gas.
Titanium feather is on its way back to Earth.
Oh, I muted myself. We're not gonna die. That shout was from, I muted the wrong thing. That shout was from the Dude Perfect guy. If I paid $1 million for this experience, which, although the prices aren't published and they're not public, some of the tickets have sold for approximately $1 million. I'm not sure that I'm sure it would be an exhilarating experience, but I am not sure that I would want, YouTube bro screaming in my ear the whole time, which from the audio from the crew capsule, it seemed like he did. But in any case, yeah, a soft touchdown as always for the New Shepard capsule.
Touchdown, titanium feather.
And enough of that. Finally, rounding out the quintet of launches last Thursday, remember this was all in one day, a SpaceX Falcon 9 launched the Korean Pathfinder lunar orbiter called Danuri.
"15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. And liftoff. Danuri, Fugate.
Vehicles pitching downrange. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Now, the video did cut out during the landing, but the booster did make it to the drone ship.
Nominal orbit insertion.
And there was the call out for nominal orbital insertion. The second stage is coasting for a bit longer, and we got views back of our first stage as it attempts its sixth landing on our drone ship.
Landing burn.
You can start to see the drone ship.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
And that's all we get. The rocket cam video cut out, and but we did see footage later of the booster sitting on the drone ship, so it was fine. And here is the payload separation.
KPLO, deploy confirmed.
And there you have it. Confirmation of successful separation of KPLO from Falcon 9 second stage. KPLO still...
Now, Danuri will spend the next 4 months or so making its way toward the moon using an unusual ballistic lunar transfer trajectory that will take it out near the Sun-Earth L1 Lagrange point, 1 million miles away, before it sweeps back toward the moon. Now, I don't know exactly why this trajectory was chosen, but maybe for energy efficiency or technology demonstration. But in any case, once inserted into lunar orbit, Danuri will survey the moon for a landing site for South Korea's next lunar mission, which will involve an orbiter, a lander, and a rover. There was one more launch last week. On Saturday, yesterday, India tested their new Small Satellite Launch Vehicle, or SSLV, for the first time. Intended to provide a less expensive launch option for small satellites so that they don't have to wait around to share a ride with a larger payload, this was SSLV's first orbital launch. On board were the 300-pound or 135-kilogram EOS-02 Earth observation satellite and an 18-pound, 8-kilogram CubeSat called AzadiSat.
Minus 20 seconds. Minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Plus 5 seconds.
Stop, normal. P1 tracking. PT tracking.
R2 tracking.
P2 tracking.
That was a brilliant lift-off, a sight to behold.
प्रज्वलन और सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन SSLV.
Now let's rewind a moment here. Let's oh God, let's take a moment to pay our respects to this poor, unsuspecting bird just next to the launch pad. You can see this little black bird to the lower right of the launch pad. He's hopping around. I am pretty sure that he did not make it, but so rest in peace, little bird. So SSLV is a 3-stage solid-fueled rocket fueled by hydroxyl-terminated polybutadiene, or HTPB, plus a liquid-fueled velocity trimming module for precise deployment of the satellites. SSLV's staging looked good all the way up until the final stage, but mission controllers lost communications with the rocket in the final phase of the flight. What happened was there was a sensor failure that the rocket was unable to recover from, and the final burn lasted for only a fraction of a second rather than the planned 20 seconds. This resulted in the satellites being delivered into an unstable 356 kilometer by 76 kilometer orbit. Now, 76 kilometers is within the upper atmosphere, so the satellites were lost. Losing the payload is unfortunate, but the rocket still performed pretty well for a first test flight. Hopefully next time they will have 100% success. So, keep on keeping on, ISRO. Hush, you. Oh no. Didn't mean to do that. One moment. Okay. Looking further back into the archives of space history, today marks the 51st anniversary of the splashdown of Apollo 15, bringing astronauts David Scott, Alfred Worden, and James Irwin safely home from humanity's 7th trip to the moon and 4th moon landing. Now, looking ahead to this week, there we go. Tuesday, August 9th, at 1:52 a.m. Eastern, 5:52 UTC, a Russian Soyuz 2.1B with Fregat M upper stage will launch the Khayyam spy satellite for the country of Iran. It's been reported by the Washington Post and others, citing intelligence officials in the U.S. on condition of anonymity, that before Iran gets its turn with its own satellite, Russia will use it for several months to support its war in Ukraine. Unsurprisingly, there will be no live coverage of this launch. Also on Tuesday, at 6:59 p.m. Eastern, 22:59 UTC, SpaceX will launch a batch of Starlink satellites from Kennedy Space Center. You can watch it right here on Raw Space. Wednesday, August 10th at 12:55 a.m. Eastern, 04:55 UTC, a Chinese Long March 6 will launch another trio of Jilin-1 satellites. As usual for most Chinese launches, there will not be a live stream. We have a full moon on Thursday the 11th, if you're interested in either becoming a werewolf or photographing the full moon. And then on Friday, August 12th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 21:30 UTC, SpaceX launches yet more Starlink satellites, this time from Vandenberg in California. And that will be 5:30 p.m., so not terribly close to sunset, so not as brilliant as some of the sunset launches that we've seen. I want to take a moment to thank our channel supporters in this, I don't know what you want to call it, interregnum, this period of demonetization that the channel is dealing with. I want to thank those of you who have continued to support the channel either on Patreon or via other methods, and your support is always appreciated. Now, let me get to your questions. So hopefully you tagged my name, Raw Space, so that I can see your questions. Okay, so related to what I just said, Julian Roberts asks, did you do the appeal? That's referencing the appeal to YouTube's demonetization of the channel. I have not yet done the appeal video, submitted the appeal video to them, but I have until I leave for Europe, which is in 10 days. So I've got another week or so to submit that appeal video to them. So what happened was they demonetized the channel. I did not submit my appeal video in time, so I wasn't unable to appeal that decision. So I had to wait 30 days from the time they demonetized me to reapply for monetization. And the reapplication is basically just clicking a button. You can't submit any kind of justification or rationale when you do that. You can just say, okay, I'm reapplying. And they denied my reapplication. So now I can appeal that, with another video. So that's what I plan to do. Yeah, I mean, if they agree with my my rationale, or if my appeal is successful, then I'll be remonetized and the channel members will have their perks back. Otherwise, the channel may need to fly solo for a while without monetization, which means that the only financial support for the channel would be coming from things like Patreon, PayPal, the merch store, and which I need to flesh out, by the way. And well, that's about it. But in any case, so MVM Motovlog Music says, did Rocket Labs abandon their helicatch attempts? No, they haven't abandoned them. They just didn't attempt a helicatch on this launch. I'm not sure why they didn't. Maybe they needed extra fuel for the NRO launch, and that precluded them bringing the booster down in an area that was easily accessible by the helicopter. I'm not sure, but or maybe they're still working out the kinks of the rocket helicopter wind interaction, which caused them to release which prompted the helicopter pilot to release the rocket after he had captured it last time during their first catch attempt. But yeah, I'm not sure. But they haven't abandoned them. They will have more attempts in the future. Starwalk says, I think the latest Falcon 9 launch, the first stage is about time to retire. It doesn't seem to land on target. Oh, anywhere within the circle on the drone ship is perfectly fine. It doesn't need to land dead center in order for the booster to be recovered and reused. Sometimes they do land dead center, sometimes they're a little bit off, but they almost always land. They haven't had a booster landing mishap in a couple of years. But so yeah, and this particular the last Falcon 9 launch was that booster's 6th launch, and so it still has a few more launches in its service lifetime, at least 4 to 6 more launches. Chris V, Raw Space, let's see, PJMD, what happened with last night's launch? Referring to ISRO's launch of the SSLV. Orbit or no? Nope, that, as I explained, that this question was asked before I got to that segment. But yeah, the Indian rocket failed to fully execute its final burn, and it was unable to deliver the satellites into a stable orbit, and therefore it did not completely succeed in its mission, and the satellites were lost. Mark Desire, I believe this Indian launch was delayed for almost 3 years. I believe it was delayed for a while, which is not unusual at all for new rockets to have years of delay. Not just because of COVID, but even normally rocket development is a long process that is usually beset with delays of one sort or another. Mark Desire, Bennu never brings a mouse or a frog inside the house. So Bennu is an indoor cat, indoor only. He got out one time. I mean, he was rescued as a kitten from outdoors. He had been abandoned, I think, behind the pet store, and they rescued him, and then I adopted him. This was in October of 2020. And yeah, he's an indoor cat. He did get out once from between my legs as I was talking to somebody at the front door, and he was frightened, and it was hard to catch him. I only, as I very slowly approached him, because any animal, like even a poodle or whatever, is way faster than a human. Like if they don't want to be caught, you're not going to catch them. And And so my only saving grace, I guess, was that Bennu was frightened, and he, as I approached him slowly and calmly, I was internally I was panicking, but I approached him calmly, and he was backing away from me because he was scared, and he backed all the way to the back fence of the house where he got trapped, and I pounced on him before he could bolt in a different direction. Now, he could have very easily jumped up the fence and whatever, but he didn't realize that at the time. He didn't know his own capabilities, so no. Bennu does not go outside. However, sometimes the outside comes inside, and occasionally we'll get a little skink lizard or a palmetto bug, which is a big southern cockroach. They don't nest inside the house, but they occasionally come inside the house because they're looking for food or whatever. We don't get too many spiders here, but occasionally a critter will end up inside the house, and then Bennu chases it around. It really doesn't know what to do with it, but he's definitely a stalker of the small critters. And one time he did pull a lizard's tail off, but he doesn't have that killer instinct because he was never, like, he never had to live, and fend for himself in the outdoors, really. Julian Roberts, is Bennu having a holiday? So I'm going on holiday. The 17th of August, I'll be going to Europe for a week and a half with my 2 kids. But Bennu will be chilling here at the house, and a neighbor will be checking in on him every day and hanging out and playing with him, so he gets some human time. Wafakiri, after all this time, I still get the pronunciation trip up on that. Thanks for everything, Raw Space. You're quite welcome. Thank you for being here. Any more questions? All right. So, looks like that'll do it for this week. There will be one more episode of Space Week before I leave for Europe. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do Space Week 2 weeks from now, because I will be in Paris at the time. But it'll be 9 p.m. Paris time, when it's 3 p.m. Eastern time, when I normally do Space Week. And at that time, I expect to be... We'll be leaving for Greece early the following morning, so I will be in the hotel at that time. I might be able to do a makeshift episode, but I might just be tired from having walked all over the Chateau de Versailles the whole day prior. So I may not do an episode, but we'll see. In any case, thank you all for coming. Keep it raw, and see you next time.
Mm-hmm.